A body lies face down in the wet grass, arms splayed at unnatural angles, one close to the torso, one reaching outward, as if grasping for something that wasn't there. It's 7:30 in the morning. November 4th, 2018. The Georgia sun hasn't burned off the dew yet. Upstairs, on the wooden deck directly above, an unlit cigarette sits next to a pink lighter. She never got to smoke it. Tamla Horsford went to a slumber party the night before, a gathering of football moms, wine, laughter, Cards Against Humanity, the kind of Saturday night where you let loose after a long week of carpools and practices. By sunrise, she was dead. The homeowner would tell 911 dispatchers she probably fell off the balcony, too drunk, lost her balance, a tragic accident. But Tamla's husband said she'd made breakfast casserole that morning before she left. Food for her 5 children, for the next day, because she planned to come home. Her family would say the injuries didn't match a fall. The police would say they did. And buried in the details, in the timestamps, the toxicology, the 911 call, the scandal that followed, is a question that still hasn't been answered. What really happened to Tamla Horsford? This is a story about a party that ended in death, about a community that wanted answers, and about a case that was closed before most people felt it was ever truly opened. Tamla Horsford was 40 years old, a mother of 5. Originally from the Caribbean, she'd built a life in Cumming, Georgia, a suburb north of Atlanta where Friday night lights mattered and youth football was practically a religion. She was outgoing, energetic, the kind of woman who showed up to every game, cheered the loudest, knew everyone's kids by name. That Saturday, November 3rd, she spent the day at home, cooking dinner for her family, prepping a breakfast casserole for Sunday morning. Her husband, Leander, would later emphasize this detail over and over. She was planning for tomorrow. She expected to wake up in her own bed. That evening, Jean Myers was hosting what she'd billed as an adult slumber party. Football moms only. A chance to drink wine, gossip, watch the game, and not worry about kids for one night. The house was a 2-story suburban home, spacious, well-kept, the kind of place where you park in a circular driveway and walk up to a front door flanked by decorative planters. Jean had intended it to be women only, but her boyfriend, Jose Barrera, was there. So was another man, Tom Smith, whose wife Stacy was also attending. The party started around 7. Tamla arrived later, somewhere between 8:30 and 10 p.m., depending on who you ask. Already, the timeline gets fuzzy. Picture this: a living room full of women, glasses of wine, beer bottles sweating condensation onto coasters, the football game playing on a flat screen, Cards Against Humanity spread across the coffee table, laughter, the kind that gets louder as the night goes on. It's warm inside, crowded, the air thick with perfume and the smell of snacks, chips, gumbo simmering in a slow cooker. Tamla is drinking. Everyone is, some more than others. By 11:30, guests who aren't staying the night start to leave. A few who'd planned to sleep over change their minds. They hug goodbye, promise to text when they get home. Around 1:30 a.m., Jean and Jose head upstairs to bed. Some guests are still awake, still talking, still drinking. At 1:47 a.m., Bridget Fuller, one of the guests, gets picked up by her husband. She'll later tell investigators she remembers Tamla eating gumbo, saying she was going to smoke one more cigarette before heading to bed. One more. The home security system logs the back door opening at 1:49 a.m. It closes at 1:50. Then it opens again at 1:57 a.m., and it stays open. Witnesses say Tamla went out onto the back deck around 2 a.m. to smoke. No one admits to seeing her after that. Morning comes cold and gray. Around 7:30 a.m., Jean Meyer's aunt, who lives in a downstairs unit, looks out her window. She sees something in the backyard, a shape, face down in the grass. She tells another guest. Something's wrong with Jean's friend from the islands. They don't call 911 yet. At 8:59 a.m., Jose Barrera makes the call. His voice is steady, controlled. He describes Tamla as not moving one bit. Not breathing. Completely face down in the yard. In the background, you can hear Jean Myers. She's already forming the narrative. She was drinking, and it looks like, I'm guessing maybe she fell off the balcony. By 9:07 a.m., first responders arrive. Tamla Horsford is pronounced dead at the scene. The Forsyth County Sheriff's Office begins its investigation. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation conducts an autopsy. Multiple blunt force injuries, head trauma, torso trauma, arms and legs, a laceration on her heart, her blood alcohol level, 0.238, nearly 3 times the legal limit, THC in her system, alprazolam, Xanax. The medical examiner concludes the injuries are consistent with a fall from the deck, accident, case closed. But here's what bothers people. Tamla is found directly below the deck, arms splayed, one close to her body, one extended, face down. On the deck above, an unlit cigarette, a pink lighter. She went out to smoke, but she never lit it. Did she lean over the railing, lose her balance, slip? Or did something else happen? Tamla's family doesn't buy the accident story. They hire an independent pathologist. The second autopsy notes additional abrasions, raises questions about whether all the injuries match a single fall. Some of her facial injuries look like impacts from fists, not wood. Her wrist shows trauma that doesn't align with bracing for a fall. And the positioning of her body, some say it looks staged. Then there are the statements from the guests, conflicting timelines. Who saw her last? Who was awake? Who was upstairs? Who was downstairs? Stacy Smith leaves around 8:30 the next morning, before the 911 call. She later says she saw Tamla's phone sitting in the living room. If Tamla went outside to smoke, why was her phone inside? The back door log shows it opened at 1:57 a.m. and stayed open until the body was found. If she fell at 2 a.m., why didn't anyone hear a scream? A thud? Why didn't anyone notice the door was still open for over 5 hours? On February 20th, 2019, Major Joe Perkins of the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office holds a press conference. He announces the case is closed. Over 300 hours of investigative work, around 30 interviews. It was a party, he says. They were drinking. She was drinking. She was on the deck alone. Accident. But then something happens that changes everything. In December 2018, just weeks after Tamla's death, it's discovered that Jose Barrera accessed police databases about the case. Jose worked for Forsyth County Pretrial Services. He had access to law enforcement systems, and he used them to pull incident reports about Tamla Horsford multiple times. On December 17th, he's placed on administrative leave. 3 days later, he's fired. Loss of confidence, violation of trust. The optics are devastating. The boyfriend of the woman hosting the party where Tamla died was looking up details of the investigation. Why? What was he looking for? Who was he sharing information with? The public starts asking harder questions. Online communities dig into the case. Reddit threads explode. True crime forums dissect every detail. And then there's the elephant in the room. Forsyth County, Georgia. Forsyth County has a history. In 1912, a white woman was assaulted. A black man was accused. He was lynched by a mob. In the violence that followed, the entire black population of Forsyth County, over 1,000 people, was expelled, driven out, their homes burned, their land seized. For decades, Forsyth County was a sundown town. No black residents allowed. It wasn't until the 1980s, after civil rights marches met with violent resistance, that the county began to slowly, reluctantly integrate. By 2018, the demographics had shifted, but the history remained. Tamla Horsford was a black woman. The party was mostly white. The homeowner was white. The investigators were white. And when her family started asking questions, they were met with a wall. Leander Horsford, Tamla's husband, would later say, "I'm not saying it wasn't an accident, but I am saying it was a cover-up. They made it look like something else." He believed people were hiding the truth. In June 2020, Sheriff Ron Freeman formally asks the GBI to reopen the case. Public pressure has mounted. The family won't let it go. Activists are demanding answers. The GBI reinvestigates. They review the autopsy, the witness statements, the timelines, the security logs. On July 28, 2021, they issue their conclusion. No criminal charges. The evidence, they say, does not support a homicide prosecution. It's not an exoneration of the accident theory. It's a legal decision, not enough to prove foul play beyond a reasonable doubt. But for Tamla's family, it feels like another door slammed shut. So what really happened to Tamla Horsford? Was it a tragic accident? A woman who drank too much, stepped out for a cigarette, and lost her balance in the dark? Or was it something more sinister? An altercation that turned violent? A fight that ended with a push, a shove, a fall that wasn't accidental at all? Or was it somewhere in between? An accident that people then covered up to protect themselves, their reputations, their lives? The physical evidence is ambiguous. The witness statements are inconsistent. The investigation was flawed from the start. What we know for certain, Tamla Horsford went to a party. She was seen eating gumbo around 1:47 a.m. She said she was going to smoke one more cigarette. The back door opened at 1:57 a.m. and stayed open. By 7:30 a.m., she was dead in the backyard. An unlit cigarette sat on the deck above her body. Her family believes she was killed. The authorities say she fell. And the truth, whatever it is, remains somewhere in that cold November grass, just out of reach. Tamla Horsford was 40 years old, a mother of 5. She loved football. She loved her kids. She made breakfast casserole the morning before she died because she planned to come home. She deserved better than this. She deserved answers, and until those answers come, her story won't rest. Do you believe the accident theory? Or was Tamla silenced? Tell me in the comments. And remember her name, Tamla Horsford. She mattered.